Good morning, international students and expatriates. Welcome to my channel, Good Morning Expat. And in this video of today, we are going to talk about an MBA program versus a master's level qualification. I am an academic consultant by profession, so I have been asked by many prospective candidates what is the right program to choose and at which time. So I decided to shoot a video to give you some insights about how to compare the two degrees, which are totally different from each other. So I decided to come to Parkour North this morning, so I took the advantage of also making the footage for this video over here. So the picturesque location that you can see behind me is actually Parkour North. So there are a few things to keep in mind when you're comparing a master's level qualification with an MBA. In order to understand what is the difference, we need to first understand what an MBA really is. So an MBA, Masters of Business Administration, is a post-experience qualification. In fact, it's a professional terminal qualification per se, because an employer wouldn't ask you for more degrees on top of an MBA typically, whereas a master's is a qualification that you can take up right after your bachelor's. So an obvious transition in an academic path for a person is to do a bachelor's after high school and then get on to a master's level qualification. Therefore, a master's is something which can be taken up directly after a bachelor's, but an MBA essentially is a qualification that will reap some benefits for you only after you've had some years of work experience. If you wish to take up an MBA from a top AMBA accredited school, typically the level of work experience that will be requested is at least 2 or 3 years, and therefore this is the main difference between an MBA and a master's program. So another point to keep in mind is when is the right time for you to take up a master's level qualification and when is the right time for you to invest in an MBA. In my last 7 years as an academic consultant, a marketing and recruitment professional for one of the leading business schools in Europe, I have met a lot of people who ask me this question every now and then, and most of these candidates are in the age group of 20 to 30 years. Meaning that they have completed a bachelor's and have acquired some years of work experience, but they're confused between whether to take up a master's or directly invest in an MBA. Now there are two scenarios that you can imagine. If you are somebody who completed a bachelor's and you've acquired 4 or 5 years of experience, but you're still thinking of investing in a master's level qualification, I don't blame you, because the type of master programs that are on offer these days by business schools are highly attractive. They are in very niche specific topics, so it's but natural for a person to think about kickstarting a career in a certain industry and look at a master's program as the way forward. However, when you've acquired some years of work experience, in fact, it's already time for you to invest in an MBA program, because after you've had the knowledge, the hands-on experience of working in a specific department, domain or sector, what you want to look up to is a managerial level position, be it in the same department or in any other department or sector if you like. That breakthrough from a specialist level position to a managerial level position will come with an MBA program as compared to a master's level qualification. A master's essentially is a program that helps you to kickstart your career, that gives you the launch pad, an entry point into a particular sector to start your first job, typically an entry level position. But an MBA is a qualification that you take up after already having some experience at the first level, the first layer of managerial hierarchy in an organization, mainly as a specialist. So I mentioned two possible scenarios. Scenario number one is that you are a person who has completed a bachelor's qualification and you have about 4 or 5 years of work experience, now you are wanting to grow, invest in a qualification, and you're trying to compare a master's or an MBA. In scenario 1, you find a fantastic master program which gives you the specialist knowledge related to a particular domain, function, or sector, and you take that up. Good for you. You will find a fantastic job right after the program, but in that niche area, in that specific sector. However, after 5 years down the line, after you will have completed your masters, your employers are still not willing to promote you to a managerial level position. Then what would you do? Therefore, we need to keep in mind what is scenario number 2. Scenario number 2 is that you have a bachelor's, you are in the age group of 20 to 30s, but instead of investing in a master's program after having 4 to 5 years of experience, you already decide to invest in an MBA. That decision will make your return on investment higher, of course, because the type of salaries that you can expect after an MBA are, of course, much higher as compared to a master's level graduate, as compared to what can be offered to a master's graduate. An MBA will give you a higher return on investment, but it will give you a more holistic understanding of how a company works, thereby making you eligible to apply for middle management or senior management managerial positions right after you complete your qualification, contrary to what can happen after a master's qualification, because typically a master's program, as said before, is for people who can do it right after a bachelor's. Therefore, they cannot be promoted to managerial positions right after they've completed the degree. But with an MBA, that sharp career boost can definitely come, because an MBA is something beyond a master's level qualification. It is less specialized, it's more generic in nature, meaning it gives you a 360-degree understanding of a company, which is essential if you want to work at senior or middle management level positions, because you need to understand the language not just of one department in a company or the challenges faced by one department in a company, but you need to have a more panoramic view of a company, understanding the challenges of different departments, and then coming up with solutions which make more sense from a cross-functional point of view. Of course, as said before, MBAs tend to be more generic, so of course you need to create the balance between generic and specific, meaning you have to take up an MBA to understand a company from a holistic point of view, but at the same time most top MBAs come with some concentrations or some specific areas for you to deep dive into a particular sector or domain. So take advantage of that to also create a niche area of expertise for you, but at the same time having the capability of understanding a company from a 360-degree point of view. So now that we have understood the importance of an MBA over a master's level qualification, it's time to understand whether 1 year or a 2-year MBA will be good for you and what type of format you should invest in. So when it comes to 1 year versus 2-year MBAs, the clear difference is that a 2-year MBA will give you a bit more time to dive deep into specific topics so that you can understand how different departments in a company work from a very in-depth point of view. And in a 1-year MBA, the approach is more fast track. So the idea is to give you a more full immersion, super intensive experience so that you can get your hands on many things at the same time, but you learn how to multitask. And at the same time, you're not out of the job market for a long period of time, because while a 2-year MBA will give you the opportunity definitely to dive deep into different topics in a more relaxed way, but you are going to bear at least 2 years of living expenses if you have invested in a full-time program of 2 years, meaning you will be out of the job market for 2 years, so 24 months is what we're talking about. But in a 1-year MBA, of course, the progression is more fast. So the approach is, of course, fast track and intensive. But this means that you will get reintegrated back into the job market after completing an MBA faster than a 2-year MBA program. So that balance, that trade-off is really your personal choice, depends on your personal situation and your personal situation, even with the expenses. So which format to choose, a full-time, part-time, blended, distance learning, online, this is really your personal choice, and it depends also on your personal situation. A full-time or part-time program could be feasible if you want to really be in a class in person physically with your classmates and have a full immersion experience. An online or a blended approach would be more feasible if you are in later years of your life, if you have a family to take care of, if you are in a very lucrative, busy job position that you cannot give up, then a blended or online approach would be feasible for you. On the other hand, as said, a part-time or a full-time MBA, which is like an on-campus face-to-face MBA experience, would be more feasible if you're wanting to have a more personal, a more let's say immersive experience in your program. So another important point to understand is how to choose the best business school for you if you want to take up an MBA program or even a master's qualification for that matter. I've had the opportunity to travel to many countries and meet many academic experts and admission directors from top business schools, and what I have learned from my experience is that while there are many objective methods of comparing business schools, like rankings, accreditations, alumni talks, placement stories, placement statistics, there are many objective and let's say numeric methods to do a comparison. What I would like to stress on is that always look at the location advantage of where the business school is based. For instance, you want to get into the luxury sector. The best locations to do to have your qualification would be, for example, Milan, which is one of the biggest fashion hubs and design capitals of the world, or Paris, for instance. On the other hand, if you want to get into a top automobile company, you want to get into the auto sector, perhaps Germany could be a great location for you. So always look at your study destination first, the city that you're going to be in, and what are the industries that are flourishing over there. That will define the type of opportunities that you will get for internships and even for your postgraduate jobs. And the final thing that I would like to quote here is that like any other institution or organization, a business school or university also has a personality, and therefore your personality or profile should match with that personality. The idea is that different business schools will look for different traits in a candidate from a soft skills point of view. Some schools stress on entrepreneurial mindsets, some stress on more financial or mathematical skills. So you need to understand if your ideals and your overall approach matches with that of the business school or the university that you're going to be a part of. So these were a few things to keep in mind when you're comparing a master's level qualification with an MBA, and how to choose the best place of study for you. So I hope you found this video useful, and to recap, I can simply sum up the whole discussion in a few lines, meaning that if you are a fresh graduate, the right qualification for you to invest in is a master's right after your bachelor's. That will give you the opportunity to kickstart your career in a certain specific industry, domain or sector. On the other hand, if you are a professional who has a bachelor degree but some years of experience on top of that, then it's already time for you to invest in an MBA, so look for that. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, give a thumbs up, hit the bell icon, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel.